Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited that you can join us today for our launch of Fleet Hub for AWS IoT Device Management. My name is Michael McKenzie, and I'm the GM of AWS IoT Connectivity and Control. And with me today is Shane Auchi, our Senior Technical Product Manager for AWS IoT Device Management. So a quick overview of what we're going to cover today in this session. We're going to talk about our device management services that enable you to monitor and manage your fleets of connected devices when they're connected to AWS IoT. Next, we're going to introduce Fleet Hub, a brand new simplified way to help you manage your fleets of devices. And finally, Shane's going to walk you through a demo to showcase the features of Fleet Hub, and we'll let you know how to get started. So one of our biggest challenges for IoT customers today is to get better visibility into the aggregate state of their fleet so that they can better manage the operational health and security of their devices. It's just difficult sometimes to know, what do you have out there, what firmware revisions are running, how many legacy devices might you have, how many new devices do you have that are a new generation, things like that. So if you could get better visibility into your fleet of devices, what problems could you solve? What decisions could you make that would be better decisions about your fleet? So that's what we're gonna delve into with device management. And honestly, managing large fleets of devices can be really challenging. Whether these are mixed fleets of devices, we've got in the diagram here, we've got a very typical smart home case of light bulbs, cameras, thermostats, door locks. Some of these are new generation, some of them are older generation. Or if you've got fleets of the same device, even in those cases, you often have legacy devices, newer generation devices. Even within the same generation of devices, you might have differing firmware levels or different patch levels, different software updates, things like that. So one of the biggest challenges is often just knowing what you have out there in the wild. What updates have been done? How many legacy things do you have? And finding out how these things are performing. You don't want your customers discovering issues about connectivity that you could otherwise have prevented. So as these fleets continue to grow in size and in complexity, you need a simple, customizable way to organize your devices, monitor your fleet-wide state, manage the device and the application lifecycle, and remotely troubleshoot any issues after you receive an alarm. And we've provided some great tools with AWS IoT Device Management so that our customers can better organize, monitor, and update their devices remotely for troubleshooting, things like that. With fleet indexing and search, you can already index device connectivity or properties, either static properties or dynamic properties, state data, things like that, so that you can get better access into your device fleet. You can search on these and aggregate metrics, things like that. You can also use this index data to build query-defined device groups, for example. So we call these dynamic groups. With IoT logging and monitoring, you can enable IoT event logs and metrics using CloudWatch. So for example, you can view all the logs for disconnection events that have occurred over the last 24 hours, something like that. With jobs, you can take remote actions on individual devices or on groups of devices, which is the most common use case. For example, to do things like rotating authentication certificates or updating device configurations, maybe performing an over-the-air update on a group of devices, and also even down to disabling misbehaving or compromised devices. And then we have secure tunneling as well. With secure tunneling, you can securely access devices behind a network firewall to remotely troubleshoot an issue and remotely configure devices that might need attention. But we've listened to our customers, and there's a few things that we've heard, even with this set of tools. They want a consolidated way to get visibility of the aggregate state of their entire fleet. We want to understand how things are grouped, how things are reacting in the field, how things are working in the wild. They also want a simple way to monitor for operational issues and receive notifications to take corrective actions without necessarily having to write code. Today, a lot of our customers are growing to a size where support technicians or operators are responsible for the day-to-day monitoring of their health fleets and may not, have that time or ability to code in order to look for these anomalies in the field. And they also want to be able to detect and diagnose issues with connectivity and be able to take remote troubleshooting steps on those devices in a very, very simple way. And often what we've heard from our customers is that this still requires them and their developers to create centralized dashboards, reports to monitor their global fleet, identify anomalies and things like that. And this takes a lot of time to create, and it also takes a lot of ongoing maintenance. And we think this is often really undifferentiated work. So we've been looking for ways to make this a lot easier for our customers. And that means that today I'm really excited to let you know that we are launching Fleet Hub, which is a new feature of AWS IoT Device Management into public preview. This Fleet Hub allows our customers to more easily monitor and manage their fleets of devices that are connected to us at AWS IoT. Fleet Hub actually works by extending our existing device management capabilities, such as fleet indexing and jobs, through a simple, customizable interface. And this brings a new level of visibility to the things you have out there in the wild. Support technicians, operators, developers, your non-technical personas can use Fleet Hub to monitor devices in near real time. And this allows them to gather insights into their fleet, allowing for better decision making and things like that. You can also use Fleet Hub to generate and receive notifications when there are operational issues like connectivity problems or low battery levels out in the field. And you can always use Fleet Hub to investigate and triage issues so that you can take corrective actions on those devices by updating firmware, updating the software on the devices, or remotely accessing those devices to investigate and triage configuration issues. You can even use it to set alarms to notify you of unusual behavior, things like that. So we're pretty excited about this, and we think Fleet Hub can save you a lot of time and resources. We're certainly excited to put simple management tools directly into the hands of non-technical personas and even technical personas so that they can quickly resolve issues. We're trying to look at, how do we reduce the mean time to diagnose and resolve issues in the field for your IoT devices. And through our beta program, we've been working with a company called AirTies. AirTies provides smart Wi-Fi solutions to ISP operators, giving consumers the best wireless home experience. And AirTies is the most deployed Wi-Fi mesh solution for service providers worldwide. That means, with a deployed base already approaching 26 million devices and expected to double in the next 3 years, fleet management, reporting, and updating these devices is already a significant opportunity for AirTies. When you combine that with consumer expectations of continuous innovation with new features, the management and updating of devices was taking valuable research and development resources away from the core objective of providing exceptional Wi-Fi solutions. So when a major ISP solution provider approached AirTies with a request to be able to update 1 million Wi-Fi extenders within a specific 4-hour time window and to provide precise monitoring and reporting, AirTies turned to AWS IoT. AWS IoT Device Management and Jobs provided the scale and the global availability and the precision of the reporting that they required, but AirTies had a vision of going further for their service provider customers, and they turned to Fleet Hub as a solution. And this allowed them to visualize and interact with the fleet without their team having to spend time and resources developing their own custom solution. So our ultimate goal is allowing each operator to securely visualize their own fleet, perform self-service updates on specific requirements, and access real-time reporting. This really helps these customers save time and money and not focus on that undifferentiated work, but get back to innovating on their own products. So I'm going to hand it over to Shane now, and he's going to walk you through Fleet Hub's features and walk you through the experience with a demo. Shane.
Thanks, Michael. In this section, we'll be covering 4 key features of Fleet Hub. First, you can visualize the aggregate state of your fleet. Fleet Hub enables you to create and visualize aggregate visualizations and metrics using data stored on AWS IoT Core, such as connectivity status, lifecycle events, registry, and shadow data that you've indexed with fleet indexing. For example, imagine you have a fleet of water sensors that measure pH level globally. Fleet Hub enables you to visualize all disconnected water sensors that were last disconnected because of a client error. You can also use Fleet Hub to visualize the different groups or types of devices. Next, you can filter and drill down to specific devices to investigate issues. Fleet Hub provides you an easy way to use index data for filtering large lists of devices and drill down to see device-specific property and shadow state information. For example, since your water sensor measures pH level, you can filter for sensors with pH level greater than 7.4. You can also create aggregate metrics and alarms that notify you when a health metric falls above or below a user-specified threshold, so you don't need to actively monitor your dashboard. Fleet Hub makes it easy for you to create and visualize historical metrics, alarm notifications, and breaching lists of devices using Fleet Indexing's integration with CloudWatch. For example, you can create an alarm to notify you when more than 5% of your water sensors have pH levels greater than 7.4. And finally, you can take corrective actions, such as restarting or updating configurations for water sensors that might be having issues using IoT jobs, or you can remotely access devices using secure tunneling. You can also export the device lists to further investigate issues. Now I'm going to show you a demo on how you can use Fleet Hub to monitor and manage a fleet of water sensors. All right, so here's the Fleet Hub dashboard. Today we'll cover an example on how you can use Fleet Hub to monitor the health of your fleet. We'll show you how you can visualize your aggregate fleet of devices. You could filter for your device lists. You can click to create alarm for monitoring and visualizing triggered alarm states. And finally, you can drill down to individual devices to investigate issues. You can also monitor devices connected across multiple AWS regions, such as your devices in North Virginia or Ireland. So for today, we'll focus on devices specifically in North Virginia. Now, let's imagine you are an operator at a manufacturer that sells surface and groundwater valves to companies such as Acme. Within these valves, there are sensors that monitor the pH of the water and flow through these valves, similar to what we discussed in the presentation. Now, your team is responsible for producing and maintaining the water valves sold to Acme. Specifically, your job is to replace the water filters for valves that have higher than expected pH levels. So you start by visualizing the state of your fleet. You can use the dashboard to view the number of total produced devices, the number of devices connected, and what was their last disconnect reasons and disconnect states. You can also see that Acme currently has 4 different sensor types, including Acme River, Acme Reservoir, Acme Lake, and Acme Aquifer. Acme also has 8 different device groups that organize their sensors depending on the type of water valves that they installed in. So examples are Valve 2 Gen 1, Valve 2 Gen 2, and Valve 3 Beta. Now, both of these device types and device groups are organized using data indexed from device registry. You can also see that 30% of your devices were dropped due to connection loss and 28% due to client errors, which means that more than half of your devices could have some trouble keeping connection to AWS IoT Core. While the client-initiated disconnects and keep-alive timeouts are expected disconnection reasons, since your devices are only periodically connected to the cloud. Now, let's say you want to dive deeper into the health state of each of the groups of valves. So let's start by filtering all sensors installed in Valve 2 Gen 1 devices first. So we can watch here. So once we apply this filter, we can see that both the dashboard and the device lists updated. Now, let's say that we want to go and do our task, our job. So what we first need to do is add another filter to look for when the water pH is high. And in this case, we're going to look for pH levels that are greater than 7.4, as this is usually the optimal pH level for river water. If the pH level is greater than this, it might be signs of an aging water filter or an issue with the sensor itself. So in this case, we'll put 7.4 and apply the filter. Now, as you can see here, we have 3 of these water sensors that populate the list. Now you can create an alarm from this filtered view so you can be notified when the count of these sensors exceeding a 7.4 level breaches a certain threshold. So if we click here to create alarms, we'll be able to build our aggregation. So in this case, we could pick the field that we want displayed, in this case, the pH. We could pick the aggregation type, and we can pick the mechanism for sampling. Now, next, you can define the threshold. So in this case, we want to define the threshold when this metric is greater than or equal to 3. And finally, we want to be able to notify our river tech team when there's any kind of a breach of the threshold. Once we have all this ready, we can click to submit. Now, let's imagine you've already pre-baked an alarm. So we're going to go to the alarm page. So we've pre-baked an alarm here for Valve 2 Gen 2 pH. So let's click to see here. So first thing we notice is that if we click here to filter back for devices, you can see here that over a week ago, you've breached the threshold. You can see that these were set up for Valve 2 Gen 2 devices with the water pH level that's greater than 7.4. And you can see that it was set up for when this count is greater than or equal to 3, and to notify on this particular person, this particular river tech. Now let's go down here to look at the list of breaching devices. And you can also see the alarm state. So in this case, the alarm state changed on November 24th from OK to alarm. So if you click on one of those sensors, it will bring up the sensor's device details page. Here you can see the last disconnect reason, which was client error. But this doesn't look pertinent to the pH issue, so let's move on. You can also view the full property and state information here, or you could look at the full device shadow. Finally, we'll look at the thing group here. So let's go and look at the different device health data that we've collected. So we can paginate through. And let's notice here, we notice here specifically that this is from the Delaware River. So let's click here. So let's view and see if any of the other sensors are from the Delaware River. We can come back to this alarm page. We can view the query on the dashboard. And we notice that all 4 of these water sensors are from the Delaware River. So perhaps the filters at the Delaware River need to be replaced. So from there, you can choose one of the following actions. You can use AWS IoT Jobs to take remote actions to restart the sensors on the valve to ensure that the pH reading is correct. You could use AWS IoT Secure Tunneling to remotely access the sensors to ensure there's no issue. Or you can export the current page of this based on this query from the dashboard to be able to send to your field agents to check and replace those filters. Now, let's return you to the presentation. So what's next for Fleet Hub? Well, we have a few key upcoming features that we will be adding to Fleet Hub coming soon. First, you will be able to use IoT jobs to take corrective actions on individual or groups of devices and applications directly from the Fleet Hub interface. Next, you will also be able to retrieve IoT messaging logs, such as MQTT topic subscription events, to investigate device issues directly from the device details page. And finally, you will be able to use secure tunneling from the details page to securely access individual devices remotely for troubleshooting. So how can your teams use Fleet Hub today? Well, Fleet Hub enables IT admins to quickly create, deploy a fully managed application within minutes. Your admins can go to the AWS console, create an application, add users using AWS's single sign-on service, and enable fleet indexing in each of the AWS regions that you want to access your device health data. Once this is complete, your support teams will be able to log in to the newly created Fleet Hub application and using the auto-generated URL. From there, Fleet Hub provides you support teams a central view to monitor your global fleet, identify any anomalies, and investigate device-specific issues from a desktop or on the go. Fleet Hub will also make it easy for your technicians and field support teams to triage issues, take any corrective actions, and monitor those actions to completion from a single interface. So let's recap some of the key benefits of Fleet Hub. First, you will no longer need to build and maintain your own fleet management solution and can generate a fully managed application from the AWS console within minutes. From there, your support teams can log into a separate URL and monitor your mixed fleet of devices through a single dashboard. Now you can go to a single place to get visibility into your fleet to diagnose any issues. Fleet Hub seamlessly integrates with other AWS IoT services to streamline your workflow for creating alarms and soon-to-be supported actions. And your support teams can manage your entire fleet, all with no code. To learn more on how you can get started, you can visit the AWS console to get started with the public preview, or you can visit the AWS IoT Device Management page to learn more details. We also have tons of great resources on our website if you'd like to learn more about other AWS IoT services, quick start solutions, or training programs for certification. Thank you for attending our session. And as always, we really appreciate your feedback, so please complete the session survey.